We're live with another episode of BS Busters. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. And before we go any further, I guess we'll have everyone introduce themselves. Um, so, who wants to go first?
I'll go first for now.
All right.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. Welcome to the SS's Maybe Podcast. I'm Joy Moonstar, and we are still going on with Black History.
Yeah, we are still going on with Black History Month. And we have a new Black History hero of video gaming that you may or may not know. Yes, we're going to keep it going. But with that being said, we're live with another episode of BS Busters. So have the other gentleman introduce himself. Go ahead, sir.
This is Kenoshi Abominito. Glad to be on another one of these BS Busters.
All right. Of course, it's me, Mr. Red Fox, owner and proprietor of BS Busters. To get in touch with the cast via Gmail, you can reach me at mrredfoxbsbuster@gmail.com or at Twitter at Matthew Wesley at MrRedFox91 or on our Discord server. There's a link under this video, or should I say this live stream. So with that being said...
Doing credits early, aren't you?
Well, no, I like to reiterate it. First, put out the information in the beginning, then at the end. Trying to get a little bit more professional with how I roll out the content. So with that being said, let's get into it. So basically, this is a not too long of a cast. We've only got 3 topics, plus a free topic section after that. So the first topic is EA and Bioware's continued downward spiral.
Why am I not surprised? And for EA especially, about time you lose some beeping money, you pricks. I'm sorry. It's just that knowing how EA is always playing up their sports titles and doing some beep. Well, you can understand why.
Yeah, I can't get mad. So basically, EA has jacked up the prices of all their old games on Steam. So if you want SimCity 4 and Dragon Age, and you live outside of the U.S., those games, the prices have been jacked up on them. Which is kind of sad because some of their older games are actually better than their new games.
I was about to say, how much of a jack are we talking about? 10%?
If I look at the article, now this is we're looking at like 20%, 25% in some cases.
Ugh.
For example, Dragon Age Ultimate Edition, which has Dragon Age Origins Ultimate Edition, which has all of the DLC and expansions and for the game.
All the goodies.
Now in America, it's the same price. Now I got Dragon Age Origins Ultimate Edition off a Humble Bundle for like $3.99, but years ago. But in America, it's like $19.99. Outside of America, it was $19.99. It was basically £20, but then they raised it to by £5, so that's a 25% increase. So I mean they're jacking up the prices. Now Dragon Age Ultimate, I mean you're getting a lot of content with that game, so I could kind of be like, well, shit happens. But one of the most ridiculous leaps is SimCity 4. Which is a game that is 16 years old. That game came out in 2001, and it's now almost like a little under $18. Which, I mean, like, I don't know why people are mad at EA because Activision does the same thing.
To be honest with you, I was wondering when the greedy hands are going to be in the jars again.
Well, I mean, what I mean is Activision does the same thing. Because if you go on Steam and you look at Activision's pricing for their old games, like older games that were published by Activision, the prices are all jacked up. Like very rarely do they go on sale. It's amazing. Maybe even ridiculous, if you will. So I don't know. I mean, I just thought that was a very interesting thing going on. So anyway, EA's continued downward spiral is what I mean. Is basically they jacked the price up on a lot of Steam games outside of the U.S. I don't know why they didn't do it here in America. I guess because there's more
International
scrutiny.
markets.
Well, there's more scrutiny in America because they'll get vocal and then people will complain about it. People in other countries just won't buy the shit. But speaking of EA, Anthem seasons are being dropped as Bioware pledges to reinvent the game.
Why am I not surprised? In fact, they are so into quote unquote reinvention that they left the Christmas lights on.
Yeah, the Christmas decorations are still up in the game. The only thing I can say
about they're discontinuing Anthem. Is that what
they're continuing to? They're like, well, we're not going to be able to roll out those seasons because we got to go back and remake the game. Now, here's my problem.
But they didn't close the shop.
Yeah, here's my problem with this. Okay, you're gonna remake the game. You're gonna continue working on Anthem. Here's the problem with this entire statement. So you're gonna put resources towards a game that has a very small user base. When you could be working on you could go back to working on a new Mass Effect, a new Dragon Age, shit that people want, versus something that people have already shown they don't want. People don't want Anthem. They don't like the business model. They don't like and the people. There's a very small amount of people that really like Anthem, but the vast majority of people are like, "Fuck this game." So I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on it?
Facepalm to the head. Seriously, what the heck are these people thinking again?
Well, BioWare. Well, the thing is, it seems to me that the people at BioWare have they can't see the forest for the trees. They were so there are people who were really into Anthem. They're like, well, we don't have to make RPGs anymore. But the thing is, that's what you make,
Yeah.
It would be like no one goes to a pizzeria for tacos. You know what I mean? No one goes to a pizzeria for tacos. No one goes to a McDonald's for seafood. No one goes to a steakhouse for their vegetarian menu. People go to BioWare for their RPGs. That's the first thing people think about BioWare. Okay, RPGs.
I mean, if you go Pizza Hut and you're looking for a lobster, that's kind of
You're
a
in the wrong fucking
WTF.
restaurant. Yeah. And it would be weird if you work at a Pizza Hut or you work at a steakhouse. Man, I want to make a vegan menu. You work at a steakhouse, dude. What the fuck? So, I mean, the fact that they are so bent and bound, oh man, we need to make this game. No, people want you to make RPGs. That's what they want. Consumers want BioWare RPGs. That's what they want. You guys apparently can't do that anymore. So instead of getting people who know what they're doing to make the games that people want to buy, you're making a product that people have shown they don't want. I mean, that's just bad business.
Kind of like the business of doing the bare minimum for a product that you're truly known for.
Yeah, that sounds like Pokemon, doesn't it?
Yeah. And you found my attack. And you found my hidden attack.
Yeah, it doesn't. Wow, it's so good to be able to talk about shit like that and not have people argue with you about it. But yeah, so yeah, basically what I'm saying is that BioWare, they're like, yeah, we need to work on this. So basically, you're devoting resources to working on this piece of shit when you could be working on Dragon Age 4, Mass Effect, a new Mass Effect game, a new RPG entirely, but you're working on something that people have already shown they do not want. And you're losing money on it because people aren't spending money on this game anymore. Okay, all right.
That's kind of like trying to save the Titanic with buckets.
Basically, yeah. It's like, well, it's like making a Titanic 3. It's the third Titanic because the Lusitania, the first ship that was of the design that was the same guy's design as the Titanic, that sunk. Then they did the Titanic, that sunk, and then so it's like we're gonna make a third one. Why? 2 times. I mean, look, do we need a third time, really? So that's basically what I'm saying is that, just let Anthem go. Just like maybe work on it enough to make it like free to play with microtransactions like a typical MMO like Warframe or something like that, and then just get like a skeleton team to maintain it, and then just, which is really like, even though people are saying, oh, this sounds like a good thing, I think that's what they're doing. I think what they're doing is they're going to make it into Warframe where it's basically free to play, but you're gonna put like a little bit of money into it, like with microtransactions, and I think that's what Anthem's gonna be in the future. For you people who are dumb enough to buy this shit when it came out, like Wong and like Watanabe Getty Watanabe from UHF, you are so stupid. Because when
no
this game,
kidding.
like I remember everyone was like, "Oh man," like the Bioware fanboys, and I'm one of them. But I temper my fanboyism for Bioware with the fact that they have been going steadily downhill in quality for the last 10 years. The quality of their games has been going down steadily with each iteration. So I kind of knew that, like, everyone's like, well, yeah, Mass Effect Andromeda was shit, but Dragon Age Inquisition wasn't that good, but Dragon Age 2 wasn't that good, but Mass Effect 3 wasn't that good, but when Anthem comes out, they'll show you.
Right.
Okay. I was like, yeah, okay.
We've heard that enough.
I don't think they have the skill level to bring it out, and they didn't. What do you know? I was right. A studio that's been releasing shit for years through multiple iterations. Turns out their latest game, is also shit. Oh, that's amazing. But anyway, yeah. So I guess anything you want to add, Kenoshi, before we move on to the next topic?
So are they doing something with the Dragon Age series?
Well, allegedly they were working on Dragon Age 4, but then they basically had to go back to the drawing board for that game. So don't expect that game to come out for the next 2 or 3 years. Yeah. Like, at this point,
I say add a year extra to that number.
BioWare is a parasite because EA keeps on pumping them full of money and they don't release anything that's really making money back. They're just wasting money, which is ridiculous. But, I mean, this is the EA trend. EA buys a studio that's in good shape, they run it into the ground, and then eventually they close it. So I think that EA has another... If they can turn Anthem around and make it like a Warframe type thing where it goes free to play and they get a good user base who's spending money on microtransactions, that'll probably keep them in the game a little bit, but,
only for so long.
Yeah, because they've never made a game like that before, and they didn't get experienced people who knew how to make games like that. So, I'm not exactly, well, they can bring it together now. I don't trust it. But now on to our next topic. So basically, our next topic, we're going to do the Untold Black Hero of the Month. Our second Untold Black Hero of the Month, which is Ed Smith. Now, for those of you who don't know, Ed Smith was a African-American video game engineer. And basically, he might be one of the second most important people in the video game industry because he helped create...
The processor?
That's right. He did help create the processor. He helped to create the processor, which made it easier for people to essentially make modern video game consoles. Boom! That's right. Ed Smith. Another self-taught engineer. Because because you have to remember, back in the day, you know, a lot of the technology was so new that there weren't experts in it yet. So people had to, you know,
Yeah, they had to teach themselves,
yeah, they had
basically.
to teach themselves. And Ed Smith was able to do it. He also created a video game console. It didn't do that well. It was called the Imagination Station, or sorry, the Imagination Machine. But it was big enough that it actually is, you know, kind of it's in the annals of video game history. So, you know, boom, right there, folks. I will leave a link in the chat with his story. It's quite interesting. Advise you guys read it if you get a chance. Not right now, but whenever you get a chance. But yeah, you know, this type of stuff is really nice. I like, you know, so often do they bury our history in anything really. Like if you look at Black history, they bury it. Like you know, a black guy discovered blood plasma. It was there, but he discovered it. A black guy helped refine heart transplants.
There's a lot of history that sometimes get overlooked.
Yeah, yeah, you know, just a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. It gets buried because they don't like to talk about African American history. It's always European history. But that's neither here nor there. Let's keep it moving, and go on to the next topic, which is games that we love. Now, this is where people, since it's Valentine's Day is this Friday, we got to talk about games that we love. Now, when I say games that you love, I mean games that you friggin' love. All right.
Hmm.
So with that being said, let's go with it. What are games that you love? Now, when I say games that you love, I mean a game that, despite its flaws, or it might not have any flaws, you just like you can go back and play that game, and every time you play it, you enjoy it just as much as you did when you first played it.
That's the number of RPGs, though. For this, I'd probably be saying, well, some of the Mario Luigi series, like Bowser's Inside Story.
Fair enough. What do you love about it? The writing, the
It
gameplay,
it kind of gets me chuckling a lot, and it also gives me a good sense of gameplay, and not too hard, not too easy. So the only thing I have to groan about is that it basically gives you no way to really level up to try to take on some of the special challenges.
mm, fair enough.
Meaning that you have to go through one certain level over and over and try to grind your way to the top, even though you most of your attacks could probably do enough damage to OHKO them.
All right, all right. Kenoshi, are there any games that you love?
I would maybe say Super Metroid, just because it was able to do certain things that modern games can't do, and you know, and that is you know, at the end of Super Metroid, you know, convey a certain amount of amount of emotion without using you know, the latest and greatest in technology. You know,
Oh yeah,
the,
yeah. The
you discover
Metroid.
the Super Metroid, and you know, as it's trying to suck the life out of you, it recognizes, you know, it's weird that they were able to do that with, you know, just the limited amount of resources they were able to with the limited amount of resources that they had, they were able to convey, you know, sort of a sense of emotion.
I
So,
agree. I agree. I think that. I mean, although I would expand it a little bit, I would say the entire Metroid Prime series has pretty much been really good. Actually, I would say Metroid in general. Not the NES ones, but the later ones, the Super Metroids, your Zero Missions, your Fusions. Those games are really good for basically telling you a story without Samus ever having to open her mouth or say a goddamn word. which is
Yeah.
why it was baffling that other M had her talking. I'm like, why? Like, we didn't need to hear her voice, but that's okay.
Yep. Makes
But
you
yeah.
wonder who did the writing.
I don't know, but Metroid Other M is the only Metroid game where I'm just like, this game does not need to exist. And I'm a Metroid fan, but I don't like.
But you're not in favor of certain Metroids.
No, I just don't like Other M. Like like Pinball, I can deal with. The remake of Samus Returns, I'm not a big fan of it because they add too much Metroid Prime to a 2D
I was about
Metroid
to say,
game.
you actually enjoyed Pinball?
Well, it's a nice diversion. Like here's the thing, okay? For me, Metroid, like 2D and 3D Metroid games are two completely different and separate things. It's like 3D Mario games are different from a 2D Mario game. You know what I mean?
Point.
So it's like they scratch different itches for me. Like a 3D Mario game is about the majesty and the cool shit they can do. A 2D Mario game, fuck the story. It's about how tight the gameplay is and how good the physics engine is.
How skilled you could be, right?
Well, not so much me, but just how well they design it. Like, okay, a 3D Mario game is about exploration and the cool shit you can do in the world. A 2D Mario game is like you're going to a playground and they have this awesome obstacle course set up, and how well designed that obstacle course is and how well you can handle everything that's going on. A 2D Metroid game is basically a lot of the same thing. It's like, how quickly can I discover the things I need to discover in order to get to the end of the game and get the best ending. The problem that I've discovered with some of the 2D Metroids I don't like, are the ones where they try to combine shit from 3D Metroid games into a 2D game. Like, I don't like that because it's like they scratch completely different itches, you know? It's like I wouldn't go to a McDonald's expecting a 4-course sumptuous meal, and I wouldn't go to a 3-star restaurant expecting a Big Mac. You know?
Yeah, kind of like
Pardon me.
Huh? Something come up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Some things you never want to mix together. So, if anything, it kind of reminds me of how certain genres are kind of like water and acid. Kind of don't go together when I think about it. What was that? RPGs and shooting games. I think that's one that I would definitely not try to mix and match together.
You could. You probably could do. There are. You probably could mix those together if done right.
Mix what together?
RPGs and shooting games.
Shooting games.
Oh yeah, I mean RPG is one of those chameleon genres you can mix with a lot of stuff. You can mix RPGs with cooking games. They did it with that Battle Chef Brigade game. You can mix RPGs. Yeah. You can mix RPGs with beat 'em ups. They did it with Yakuza. You can mix RPGs with sports games. Look at the handheld 2D Mario games, 2D sports games from Camelot, like Mario Tennis and Mario Golf.
Yeah, it's just that RPGs usually are thinking, calculations, and tactics, while shooting games are, well...
Not always. There are shooting games out there that require you to be tactical.
Yeah, go play what's it called? Fallout New Vegas. It's an RPG, but there's also shooting involved. Of course, they get around that by having VATS, yeah. But I mean, there's basically RPG mechanics under the hood. Even Borderlands has RPG mechanics under the hood. Like when you hit an enemy, which is why the guns, the shooting mechanics to me are just a little off. Because to me, even if I'm playing an RPG, if I headshot someone, that's their ass. Which is where, for me, Fallout New Vegas is to me a better RPG with guns in it than say Borderlands 1 or 2, because Borderlands, like, you can shoot a bandit in the head with a high-powered assault rifle, a high-powered sniper rifle, and if they're high level enough, it won't one-shot them. Whereas in Fallout, especially like the older Fallout games, if it's a normal human being and they get shot in the head, even if it's like high level into the game, that's their ass. The only enemies you can't really take out, the only enemies you can't take out with a single headshot is if you're facing a super mutant or a mutated enemy like a Deathclaw or some shit like that, which makes sense because those things are like a completely different
buffed.
creature. Yeah, they're buffed as hell. But aside from that, it's like, okay.
So if anything, you will get their attention. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, like I remember the first time I played Fallout New Vegas, and like I went in the opposite direction because what you're supposed to do, you start out in Good Springs, and you're supposed to go counterclockwise from down south to the east, to the north, to the west, to New Vegas that way. But I went the opposite direction. I went clockwise, and so I went from there up to this place where they were blasting, this quarry where they were blasting that's been taken over by Deathclaws. This is the first time I had seen Deathclaws in a 3D space. So you can hear, so they're invisible. They're mutated chameleons. They can turn invisible, and you don't see them, you hear them. So I hear this thing running after me, and I'm like, what the hell? And it one-shotted me, and my character went flying across the screen. Later on...
please tell me that you at least got that on camera, because if you were sent flying across the field entirely, that was probably the comedy.
Like, here's the difference between Bethesda and the people who originally made Fallout, right? Like, Bethesda in Fallout 4, in the beginning of the game, you get basically what is essentially a power armor.
You get power armor that early?
Yeah, in the beginning, in the first 30 minutes of the game, you get power armor, and you get a mini machine gun that you basically use to mow down a Deathclaw. In Fallout New Vegas, if you don't play your cards right, in the first 30 minutes of the game, you run into a family of Deathclaws and you get murdered because, like, even if you have, up to that point, a relatively powerful weapon and you shoot a Deathclaw in the head, they have such a high armor rating that it's not going to do shit except piss them off. If you kill their babies, they'll get enraged and do even more damage. If you... Basically, you're advised not to go that way unless you cheat, which, you know, once I beat Fallout New Vegas, all hands are off, God mode is on. Or you, like, have a lot of explosive weapons, because they don't like explosives. Loud noises, they don't like. It disorients them. But anyway, yeah, you know.
I just had to facepalm because... if you, it's kind of like allowing somebody to have the metal killer when you find a metal slime or metal golden slime at about level 3.
Yeah, I like it. I'm not gonna get mad about it.
That's how I was saying that how you described getting the power armor in 30 minutes is kind of like that.
Yeah, it gets totally, like, it breaks the entire game. It's one of the problems with Fallout 4. Bethesda's take on Fallout is because basically, like, it's not, like, you should not have access to one of the most powerful weapons in an entire game in the beginning of the game.
So early?
Yeah, you shouldn't. Unless they do what a lot of RPGs do, which is, like, they'll give you the most powerful weapon in the beginning of the game, but it turns out that this is a flash forward. Well, it's a flash forward. It shows you the end of the game, what's happening at the end, and then everything you do after that is how you got to that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, Lufia 2 did this really well, where the game...
Don't forget Castlevania. They pulled that off too in one of the games.
Symphony of the Night did that, where at the beginning of the game, you're playing as a powered up...
Alucard?
No, the beginning of Symphony of the Night starts with Julius Belmont fighting Dracula. That's where he has that famous line, you know, what is a man? You know, you know,
Ah.
yeah. And then he defeats Dracula, and you play as Alucard, or Alucard, as I like to call him. And so, I mean, but it's bad game design to give your player the most access to some of the most powerful weapons in the beginning of the game, because basically they have no reason to explore and find better shit. Like, that's just bad game design, you know? It's like if you played a Legend of Zelda game and in the first, I mean, it's kind of like where one of the flaws of Breath of the Wild comes in, is because they give you all the shit you need to beat the game in the first area. That's kind of bad game design. I'm sorry, but it is.
Yeah, even though I could appreciate what Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild does, how it gave you the tools you need to not only beat the final boss of the game without really exploring, but
Yeah.
make it so you could go anywhere and be lost.
Yeah,
And
that's not good game design to me.
that, like,
I mean, that's not
yeah,
good game design to me for a
number of
Legend of Zelda
reasons.
game. Well, for a Legend of Zelda game, if you're playing like a sandbox style game, like if I'm playing a GTA and they give me access to a safe house, a place where I can buy guns, and armor in the beginning of the game, and they say, okay, from here on, you just choose stories you want to go through. It's your choice. Okay, that kind of makes sense because it's GTA is a sandbox style game, but Legend of Zelda is more focused than that. It's not a sandbox style game, even though they tried to make it into a sandbox style game. It doesn't
I was gonna
really
say
work.
it's more of a story game, right?
Yeah, well, there's a story being told, and you need that level of progression. It's an adventure game, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, because seriously, Legend of Zelda without the story, it's kind of like having pizza without the toppings, or cheese for that matter.
Yeah, but that's just me. But I didn't get the game that I love. So one of the games that I love, like I can go back and play that game anytime I want to, and every time I just enjoy it as much as the first time, is Link to the Past.
Funny how that's one of my true favorites.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can agree with you on that because if anything, it tells a good story. You got exploration everywhere and then some. If I think about it.
Yeah. I like Link to the Past. One of my favorite games in the well, it's one of my favorite Legend of Zelda games of all time, and I can always go back and play that game, and every time I play it, it's really good. I mean, is it the best game ever made? I mean, my bias is showing.
Iffy.
My bias is showing, but it's definitely one of the better. It's one of the best Legend of Zeldas ever made, in my opinion. But aside from that, it's a very well designed game. Like you feel a steady progression of you feel that progression of my character is more powerful now at the end of the game than they were at the beginning of the game. Every single item you find in a dungeon feels like it's useful and serves a purpose. The puzzles are challenging without being frustrating. So, yeah, Legend of Zelda is one of the games that I love. I love it for a variety of reasons, but the big one is it's a really well designed game. I don't think Nintendo has made a Legend of Zelda since Link to the Past that has been as well designed as Link to the Past.
Yeah, that's kind of a tricky one when you think about it. Legend of Zelda has grown very much, but it hasn't really been able to touch the 2Ds since. I mean, the last time I think they did try to touch 2D in a sense would be the Minish Cap with Capcom and the Link Between Worlds of the 3DS.
I gotta disagree with you on that one. Minish Cap is kind of like the middle of that game drags because it's not paced very well, and
I said
Link
I
Between
said with
Worlds,
Capcom because that was iffy.
yeah, it's not paced very well, and the dungeons aren't as well designed. The idea behind
Yeah.
the dungeons as well is good, but the execution's kind of not there. Link Between Worlds is a really good idea. It's just the overall design of having it be open and you can go to any dungeon in any way. There, you don't really feel a sense of progression for your character. Um,
Especially if you could buy all the items.
yeah,
I get where you're coming from
which
on
is what
that.
I did in that game. I just basically I ground rubies, and then I just bought all the shit early on. Like as soon as it was available for buying, I just bought it. So it's like, where's the character progression? There's no character. I mean, that's the problem with Link Between
There's only
Worlds.
a little
There's
bit
no
character progression.
Yeah, I mean that's
I
the
have to
problem with.
cut you on that because there's a little character progression because you have to save somebody in order to get a certain item.
Yeah, but even then, that's not really character progression. That's just one item. If you look at, I mean, that's kind of the problem with Breath of the Wild is that there's no real character progression. Like basically, at the beginning of the game, once you get off the Great Plateau, everything you need to beat the game you already have. That's not good character progression for a Legend of Zelda game.
Yeah, I mean the only thing that could get away with that kind of, as in you get all the tools you'll need to basically try to beat the game in a sense.
A Mario game
is a Mario game, and basically any games that feature a car that's basically a card game adventure.
Sonic game maybe. But that's a special thing. That's very unique. But that's just me. So with that being said, any other games you guys love? Like you literally can go back and play and you're like, wow, this is really good. Like much better than it has any business being.
When I think about it, kind of the weird one, but the Splatoon is Splatoon 2 for me.
Right.
That's because I've tried to level up my character, trying to be sure of my tactics rather than depend on the attire that I'm wearing. Seriously. And basically see if I could last long enough to actually stay with the group that does their own thing at times when the objective is clear.
All right. Fair enough. Kenoshi, any other games you love?
I would say Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, just for the fact I went back and trying to play Melee, and I don't get it. That game is rough.
Yeah, Melee is not as good as people think. I mean, like, here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you compare Melee to the original 64, yes, it's a huge leap. But even if you compare other Smash games, it's kind of hard to get into it. Like for me, my favorite Smash is Brawl because no Smash Brothers game has been able to beat that single player adventure mode yet. In terms of the amount of content and shit you can do in it. So for me, that's the Smash Brothers. Like, wow, this is really good. Smash 4 is just a disappointment. Yeah, the gameplay's good, but
there's no reason to really unlock everything because everything's unlocked from the start.
Yeah, that's kind of like my problem with the current Smash Bros. It's like, wow, these are cool new characters. It'd be cool if I could unlock them instead of just having them there at the beginning. Like it would be cool if I could unlock them by doing shit, because then I would have an incentive to really play the game. But now I have no incentive because you just buy the season pass and then you buy them. So I gave my Smash Brothers Ultimate to my nephew, or not my nephew, my cousin. So I was like, look, you like Smash Brothers, you can have it. And I don't feel bad about it. Like sometimes when I give away games, I'm like, it hurts. Like I gave Golden Sun 1 and 2 to a girl I liked in high school, and I felt kind of rough about it a little bit. But now I'm like, I don't care. I don't care about
Yeah.
giving away that game. I don't like Smash Brothers Ultimate. I tried, I really did, but it wasn't work. It wasn't clicking for me. So I know some people are gonna get mad when they hear that. How could you? You're a Nintendo fan. Just because I'm a fan of something doesn't mean I'm gonna excuse bullshit. Because the world doesn't work like that.
I was gonna say that if anything, I kind of I kind of wonder where your goggles are at times with that kind of line.
What? Just because you love something doesn't mean you let it get away with bullshit?
I mean, no, I mean, as in where you get the line that thinks that Smash is that bad.
No, I don't think it's bad. It's just not. It's just boring to me. Like basically, okay, if you played the original Smash 64, the incentive to play the game was that you unlocked new characters, right, and trying to get your score to go higher, and then the multiplayer. If you played Melee, the same thing. You unlock new characters and stuff like that, and trophies and shit like that. Brawl, unlocking new characters and skins and finding trophies and stickers and stuff like that. Ultimate, like, you still had trophies, but they weren't as well implemented. You didn't really have an adventure mode, so it wasn't really there. And then, I mean, not Ultimate 4. And then Ultimate is even worse because everything's unlocked and they don't have trophies. So it's like, what incentive do I have to really play this game aside from the multiplayer? But here's the thing. I don't really play that many multiplayer games, so that's not an incentive for me to really play it. Like Splatoon 2 was fun for a while, and I was like, I don't really enjoy this as much as the original Splatoon because I missed the second screen experience. Like, the second screen experience made that game better, made the first Splatoon to me better to play than the second one.
Yeah, I can see you with that part at least. But if anything, the games are still pretty fun.
I mean,
I try to play both multi and single player. So
to each his own, to each his own. To each his own. Like
Yeah.
for me, like I said, Splatoon, like Smash Brothers to me, like Smash 4, I didn't really enjoy that much. I bought it, but I'm not like, oh my god, this is the best game ever.
It's not one of the best. I mean, it's not the true best game ever,
and Smash Ultimate
as in there's no
is,
competition. But if anything, it's probably one of the best Smash games around.
like
Smash games around,
Smash
basically.
Ultimate is better on a technical level. It's better than Smash 4, but that's like saying, hey man, this guy broke in my house and slapped my wife in the face, but this last time he broke in my house and he only poked my wife in the stomach. It's like he still broke in your house. Like, just the severity is just because they didn't slap your wife doesn't mean he didn't break in your house. It's basically how I feel. Like, I'm not like enamored with Smash Brothers as it is right now.
Kind of sad.
I mean,
if anything, I just like
sometimes-
I mean, if anything, I see it for more than just multiplayer and single player.
Look,
I actually consider it a stress relief.
sometimes, look, there's more fun things you can do for stress relief than play Smash Brothers. But that's neither here nor there. There's some stuff that, there's some things I really like I said, there's some things I really enjoy about, there's some games that I really enjoy, and there's some games that I don't. Like, sometimes you outgrow games, sometimes games outgrow you. In this case, Smash Brothers isn't giving me, Smash Brothers hasn't scratched the itch that I really wanted in a long time. And, I'm not going to keep on giving them a chance. Because after a certain point, it's like, well, they're not going to do it because, I'm not the audience they're going for. So why should I keep on spending my money on a product, on an IP that's not doing what I would like? So,
That I can understand. Though, if anything, for me, I try to go with games that give me fun and has a good legacy behind it, or at least a good stand by it.
I mean,
and so far, Smash hasn't done that.
That's why
you turned me away.
Well, for me, it's like the last two games, Smash 4 and Smash Ultimate, just were not clicking with me, so I had to let it go.
That's
You
kind
know?
of weird because it clicked with me clearly.
So, just like Pokemon, the last 4 or 5 games, aside from X and Y, the last few games just were not doing it for me. So I had to let it go. It's after a certain point, you can't, look, I would love to be able to really enjoy an IP for years like I did with the 2D Mario games. But sometimes you just gotta let it go.
Huh.
It's kind of sad, but
Yeah, but if anything, I at least try to keep up with what is going on.
yeah. But like I said, sometimes you just gotta let it go. You know, sometimes you just
Huh.
gotta.
Yeah, letting something go for me is a bit of a tricky thing because, well, if you let something go, you probably are gonna lose it for good.
Yeah, but you know what they say? It's better to have loved and lost than to never loved at all.
Yeah, better to love and lost than to not love at all.
That is correct. So I'm thankful for the games. I'm thankful for the original Smash 64 and the memories I made, beating my friends' asses because they played as Pikachu, and then playing Melee, beating my friends' ass as Ganondorf, and Donkey Kong, showing them that a big character could whoop their ass. I love doing that.
Huh.
Brawl, beating people's like
I was gonna
my
say,
friend trying to kick my ass as Ganondorf. I mean, my friend trying to kick my ass as Kid Link, and I was Ganondorf. I'm like, really? You really want to do this? And just me beating the shit out of him as Ganondorf. Oh, that was so much fun. Uh, it's
if you ask me, it's better to watch people scream like, "Really?" when you use a meme character.
Well, it wasn't just that. I was like, like we were playing. We were doing like a kids retreat, and I brought the Smash Brothers Wii U, Smash Brothers Brawl, and I'm playing it, and for the Wii, and I'm playing it, and I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you positive you want to do this? And I'm picked Ganondorf because like I'm good with heavy characters. He's like, man, I'm gonna use Kid Link. I'm like, are you sure? Because like Smash Brothers is very
Yeah,
much
if anything, this is the
about
reason why I pick medium. This is why I enjoy medium characters because if anything, they can still take a beating, but well, are not gonna, but they're fast enough to at least be able to battle.
well, the thing about Smash Brothers is that this is what people don't understand. Smash Brothers at its core, um, is about weight classes. So light characters can go up against medium characters. Medium characters um, can go up against heavy characters. But like weight classes determine how much damage it's gonna take to knock them off. Because there's no KOs, you just knock people off out of the ring. But the thing is that like weight classes can really help in the beginning if you're not very good at Smash Brothers. But the thing is like after a certain
You gotta
point,
remember,
weight classes
you
can
gotta
only
remember
take you
which
so
kind of
far.
characters you're dealing with, right?
Well, weight classes can only take you so far because once you reach a certain mastery level of the skills, weight classes doesn't matter because I've seen people get their ass kicked by. I've seen heavy characters get their ass kicked by light characters. I've seen medium characters get kick the ass out of heavy. Like so, it depends on your own skill level after a certain point. But generally speaking, if someone is really good with a heavy character and you have a medium character and that person is really like their personal skill can negate a lot of the weight differences, but you have less of a room of a mistake if you have more room for error if you're a heavy character because it takes more to knock you out of the ring.
Yeah.
um, at least I've discovered. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, it's kind of true still.
So, you know, although like I said, I'm a little bit tired of all the Fire Emblem characters.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's one thing I could agree on.
I'm a little burnt out
Seriously,
on Fire Emblem
all
characters.
these Fire Emblem characters, you could have an 8-player melee with nothing but Fire Emblem.
I mean, I like Fire Emblem, don't get me wrong, but like Nintendo has all these IPs they could have put in the game. They could have put Wonder Red in the game from Wonderful 101. They could have put Beautiful Joe in the game. They could have put.
I'm gonna say this. There's still 6 chances left to see what they'll pull out of their rear end.
They could have put Earthworm Jim in the game. They could have
But for
put
Season
Bonk.
Pass 1, it was a mix of great third-party characters and characters that haven't gotten love for a long time.
I would say
and one Fire Emblem.
I would say it's like 50-50 because 3 of the characters were like, "Oh, this is cool," and 3 of the characters were like, "Really? For real?"
Season Pass 1 is 5 characters.
Well, no, because you got to include Piranha Plant. So it was 6.
Okay, that was unexpected, but okay, I'll give you that one.
So 3 of them is like, okay, this is cool, and then 3 of them were like, I don't care.
Let's see. For me, I'd say Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, that was good.
Joker. Hero.
Hero made sense because Dragon Quest began on a Nintendo console.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
Piranha Plant was a joke character, so that's 3 good characters.
I'm saying for me, I got 4 good characters out of that 6.
Okay.
Which is Joker, Terry, Banjo-Kazooie, and the Hero.
Yeah.
Because those are pretty. Because thanks to Hero, I'm getting into Dragon Quest.
Yeah, for me, I really didn't give a fuck about the Joker character from
Persona.
From Persona, mostly because there hasn't been a Persona game, a straight up Persona game for a Nintendo system.
Nintendo, yeah.
For a home console ever.
I mean, there's two 3DS games, but
yeah, but I said home console. 3DS is handheld. I'm talking like the home console is your main console. They're like Final Fantasy. Yeah, there's been Final Fantasy games after. There's been Final Fantasy games during the 3rd and 4th gen on a Nintendo home console, but once the 5th gen hit, there were no games on a Nintendo home console. So, in my opinion, none of the 5th gen characters onward should be on a Nintendo console ever. So no Cloud Strife, no Sora, no Titus.
I was gonna say until they release something onto Nintendo consoles, they shouldn't be counted. You mean?
Yeah, they shouldn't be because you were never on a Nintendo console. Like Dragon Quest can be on a Nintendo console because Dragon Quest began on a Nintendo console. Like it began on a Nintendo console. Final Fantasy can be on a Nintendo console, but the only characters who should really be allowed on there are characters who were on a Nintendo console. So, your original 4 Heroes of Light from Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah, if anything,
the characters from Final Fantasy 2, the 4 Heroes of Chaos from Final Fantasy 3.
And I was gonna say, for me, I consider Cloud a mixed feeling because, for one, he's a Final Fantasy character that I actually like to see, that I actually want to see in Smash in a sense. But also, when are we gonna get the Final Fantasy 7 on systems that is of their very own? And I'm not sure if they actually did release it yet.
I think it's out.
Yeah, because if they did release it, then I could say that they finally did place it onto the system proper, and Cloud is allowed to be on the system.
Yeah, I think it's out now. But yeah, I'm not like I'm one of those people. I don't really give a fuck about Final Fantasy VII. I think Final Fantasy VII to me is
I'd say
kind of
I'm mixed because you can understand why, right?
Well, that's probably the first Final Fantasy you really got into.
Actually, the second.
What was the first?
The original Final Fantasy.
Yeah. So for you, that blew your mind. Like for me, like the first Final Fantasy I played was the first Final Fantasy, and then I played Final Fantasy II, a bootlegged, pirated version of it that was translated. So for me, like, I played the first 3, and then I played the second 3, and then I played the 3 that came to America. So, like, I've seen Final Fantasy, which to me when they were at their best, and then I saw them at their worst when they went to the PlayStation. Because it's like I remember playing Final Fantasy, I'm like, people like this shit. It's basically a
I
shittier
was
version of Final Fantasy VI.
I was go- I was trying to say that if anything, Final Fantasy 1 to Final Fantasy 7 was quite a jump to me because I couldn't find any Final Fantasy for the SNES, which
That's
kind of
weird.
yeah, at least at the time. And when I went backwards to try to play those other games, it kind of made me feel a little bit mixed of sad and happy because when I think about Cloud, because he's a Final Fantasy representative, which is a good thing.
He's a shitty Final
But
Fantasy representative.
I didn't finish. I said I'm glad that he's a Final Fantasy representative, but then I think about it like there could have been other Final Fantasy representatives that could have went up on this list
Or,
of heroes.
they could have gone with Chrono from Chrono Trigger, which would have been a better character anyway.
I was about to say, Chrono from Chrono Trigger would be one of the big surprises because seriously, that was a masterpiece, and yet he's not even in the game code.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of like, why not get Chrono from Chrono Trigger? That would have made more sense. Or Frog from Chrono Trigger. That would have been cool. Or hell, any of the characters from Chrono Trigger. They're iconic. Their art style is really interesting. Nah, we get this cross-dressing, no character having.
Actually, he does have character in the original game, but
No,
God, did they
yeah,
murder him?
His character is that he has this weird obsession with
Sephiroth.
with
I know.
Sephiroth,
And I was saying that.
which means they're
I was
just
saying
gay.
that he has a.
Look. He's gay. He's got three hot women around him, throwing themselves at him. No, I must be penetrated by this tall, long-haired man with a long sword. He's gonna stab me with his sword. Yeah, he's gay. Just get over it.
I was trying to say that if anything, he's a confusing character to me, but that's how I first realized him before the retcons.
Yeah, they added all this extra shit. Well, we need to make more. I'm like, look, man, just stop.
Yeah, that's the thing. I like the Cloud of the original game, not the Cloud of these remakes.
The Cloud of the original game had no character. He was basically like a more talky Chrono.
Yeah, I mean he had personality. That's the Cloud I liked.
He didn't really have personality. He was basically like Link, except he could talk.
That's probably how I think. That's probably how I think about Cloud when I play him at times.
Yeah, but that's not really character, if you will. That's more like, you identified with the presentation, but that's not really a character. Like Samus has character. She never says a word, but from her actions she has character. Link is literally a blank canvas. He's your as Shigeru Miyamoto says, he's your link to the game world.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah. Like I think as far as characters being in Smash Brothers, like I said, I don't think Cloud Strife should have never been there. I think they should have gone with Chrono from Chrono Trigger, or hell, any of the Chrono Trigger characters would have been more interesting than Chrono.
At least you can understand why I'm mixed, right?
Well, that's the one you played. Like, here's the thing, and you're not the only one, because a lot of people are like that. Like, well, I like Final Fantasy VII. Why? Well, that's the only one I played. To me, like, if you're someone who the only Final Fantasies you played was Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 7, of course you're gonna like Final Fantasy 7 because of the presentation. But for me, someone who played all of them, it's an insult for them to be like, yeah, Final Fantasy 7. I'm like, you're ignoring all these other fucking characters. What the fuck is wrong with you? And I don't mean you. I mean, like, them being all like, well, we can do this. I'm like, look, I don't like that. It's offensive. But hey, things get better.
Yeah.
Things change. Maybe in the next season, although I don't care because I got rid of my Smash Brothers game. But for those people, they can actually get their hands on some good characters who are, more interesting, more Final Fantasy characters. Like I said, hey, if they added Sabin from Final Fantasy VI, because the motherfucker suplexed a train in Final Fantasy 6, he suplexed a train, which is pretty badass.
Yeah, if we ever get a new character that makes it, then that'd probably be a better game than expected. Though for now, we gotta wait.
Uh, I mean, the thing about Square Enix is they keep on doing weird shit that doesn't make sense. Like they're like, okay, we're gonna remake Final Fantasy VII, but it's not like a remaster or a ground up remake of the entire game. We're just gonna remake parts of it. That's just fucking stupid. You know?
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to remake something, try to keep the roots of it. Like, seriously, if you're going for the package that you're making a great game, then at least try to be sure that you keep what made the game great in the game.
I mean, that's like Nintendo saying, okay, we're remaking Link to the Past, but we're only doing the Light World. That's basically what they did with not even the Light World. We're only redoing 2 dungeons in Hylia Town. In Kakariko Town. I'm like, really?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
come
what
on,
they fucking did. And these dumbasses are probably gonna eat the shit up. Oh, this is great. Look at this mediocre ass bullshit. I know some people are gonna get mad at me when they're like, why are you calling these people dumbasses? If you're buying a quarter of a game and they're telling you, yeah, this is a good thing, we're only giving you a quarter of the game, why is it that back in the day they could give you a whole game on 4 600 megabyte discs, and yet now with all the technology we have, they can't give you Final Fantasy VII on a 50 gigabyte Blu-ray disc? Isn't that a little?
That's a little off.
Isn't that some bullshit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they are still doing the whole. They're still splitting the game up into different parts.
Yeah.
It's,
I mean,
it's just a way. It's just.
I mean,
more money off of it.
Yeah.
So,
if
but
the game is
some bullshit.
Yeah, here's the thing. Games that are part of a series, you have to make a good first impression in order to even make it that far. And, well, trying to keep in line with the original, you really are pushing your luck with that, because if this is supposed to be like the first of the series, then they're having to pull the stunts of going from the beginning of the game, from the train, all the way up to the stabbing of Ares.
So basically, this feels like a
Cop-out?
no. This feels like a glorified demo. Remember back in the day when you'd get a demo and it would be part of the game, and you get to a certain point and then the game would end, or it would say, well, "Thank you for playing the game. If you want to play more, buy the full game." This is basically these motherfuckers spent 4 years making a big ass glorified demo. It's a big fucking demo.
Yeah.
yeah.
And the worst part is, I feel ripped off because, well, they're not only pulling a demo on us in a sense, but they're doing a poor demo of what made the game great.
Well, I got to disagree on that one. I never thought
At least as far as
was great. But
at least as far as the RPG mechanics go.
Well, there are no RPG mechanics. It's real-time combat. It's an action RPG now. It's not even an RPG, which is
That's the
offensive,
thing that bugs me the
really.
most, because they could have at least kept the combat system in one piece. But no.
No.
They overhauled it to the brink of oblivion.
Yeah, I mean, can we just admit that at this point, Square Enix doesn't know how to make RPGs anymore? Like, what was the last good Final Fantasy that anyone played?
The last one for me was Final Fantasy IX.
I would say, for me, it was 12. That was the last good Final Fantasy I played.
That was Avarice, and you know it.
Well, the thing about the sad thing about 12 is that 12 itself is not a 12 isn't a Final Fantasy game. It's a Final Fantasy Tactics RPG. So, you know,
Yeah.
like I can't even particularly call um it technically, So really, I guess the last good Final Fantasy I played was 10. If you take out Titus, it's a good Final Fantasy. Keyword: if you take out Titus.
Yeah.
Like, take out Titus, it's actually pretty good. With Titus, it's like a average Final Fantasy, but that was the last good Final Fantasy I played because everyone after that has just been some bullshit. Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 10-2, Final Fantasy 13-2, 13-3. Final Fantasy 15, that bullshit.
Oh.
That
Sorry,
bullshit that Square
sorry.
Enix was like.
The moment you mentioned that game, I kind of get the shivers.
Which, I mean, I don't like. Everyone's like, yeah, I like this game. Look, I'm gonna say this right now, and I know this is gonna sound kind of bad, but I don't give a shit because it's my podcast. Uh, I really don't want to play gay dude being forced to get married to a woman, and because he's a prince and he has to carry on this bloodline, going out with his 4 gay male friends once again for one last big hurrah road trip. I don't want to play that game. Why? Who thought this was a good idea? Who actually thought this was a good idea for a Final Fantasy game? What fucking idiot?
That's one of those things where apparently you have to watch all this, the anime and the movie to make sense of the story.
Let me tell you something. If you have to read supplemental materials in order to make a movie or video game work, your game sucks, especially an RPG.
Yeah, cause seriously, what kind of game needs a backstory that's a full-blown anime?
You know, that's like Nintendo saying, "Oh, you want to understand the full story of Breath of the Wild? Well, what you need to do is you need to go and read this manga in Shonen Jump, this 5-issue manga." It's like, no, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly.
That's just bad game design. Like, no one else does that except Square Enix. Like, you don't need to read a manga. You don't need to watch the Persona 5 manga in order to understand Persona 5.
Yeah.
And yet, apparently, in order to understand Final Fantasy 15, you gotta read a manga. You gotta watch a movie. Read a manga. It's like, this is ridiculous.
But then again, that's probably one of the more ridiculous things that I've ever heard. I mean, come on. The worst I heard, hiding the true ending behind DLC.
Yeah, that was the Capcom with Ashura's Wrath. If you want the true ending of that game, you gotta buy the DLC.
Oh God, that could that could start a riot.
Yeah, it was some bullshit. Like, I'm sorry. It's just, and the thing is that, getting back to the love thing, I fucking love their earlier RPGs. I love the Hironobu Sakaguchi days of Final Fantasy. I love Final Fantasy. I love Final Fantasies 1 through 6. For me, the best Final Fantasy that they ever made was Final Fantasy 6. Because first of all, it did a lot. It was really forward thinking a lot of things. Like each character, like even though Terra is the main character of that game, each character had their own story. Each character was important to the overall story of what was going on. Gao, Locke, Edgar, Sabine, Cyan, Celeste or Chayles. I called her Chayles when I was a kid. And that's still what I call Even except for Mog and Omaru, but no one gave a shit about Mog and Omaru. They were like special characters you could get if you did something. You know, Realm and Strago. Like every character had an interesting story and some cool shit going on. But it's. And then all we get now is just these days all we get is just some bullshit. Just, hey, you want to play, Final Fantasy that doesn't have turn-based combat, doesn't have interesting characters, doesn't have interesting story. It's like, what the fuck is this shit? This is not
kind of
Final Fantasy. And I am upset that you would sell me this shit and not give me Final Fantasy. Where is Final Fantasy and what have you done with it? And now they're re-releasing Final Fantasy VII, but not the whole game, just bits and pieces of it. Now here's my question: what if Final Fantasy VII, the remake, what if it doesn't sell well? What are we supposed to do?
That's gonna be a mess.
You just get this one part, and then you just shit out of luck, huh?
Yeah,
that kind of.
It's like all you get is just,
Yeah.
So we're
The moment
basically
that
going to
happens
be,
Yeah.
They're like, we added all this new shit. Why? No one wanted you to add anything to Final Fantasy. Never was I playing Final Fantasy VII and said, man, it would be great if they added a whole bunch of extra shit that no one ever wanted. That's what's holding this game back. Not the nonsensical story, not this stoic ass annoying main character, not this villain who's just a big fucking mama's boy. No. It's the fact that this combat is turn-based. That's what's holding everything back.
Yeah, that kind of blows that somebody thinks that the combat is the reason that the game is going to fail.
They think we're dumb, okay? They think we're dumb, and these dumbasses are gonna buy the shit. Look, listen, God bless you. If you buy it, knock yourself out. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. But me, if you gave me the money to buy this game, I wouldn't do it. I would go buy $60 worth of stocks, then buy this game.
No kidding. I mean, come on.
Well, the stocks are worth more because then I can sell them and get more money back.
Yeah, especially when the value is iffy.
Value goes up. Yeah, the value goes up. I can sell them. It's just really bad. It's really, really fucking bad. So, people are gonna get mad because they're like, "How could you say that? Don't you like Final Fantasy?" I do. That's why I don't like Final Fantasy VII, because in my opinion, it was the start when Final Fantasy jumped to the PlayStation. That was the start of the downward spiral of Final Fantasy, in my opinion. Because basically they got hung up on graphics and not enough on the substance behind the games.
Yeah, it's like watching a plant slowly die, right?
Basically. And people get mad at me. How could you say that? How could you say that? I'm glad they went to a bigger audience. I'm glad there were new people who played Final Fantasy, but a lot of those people who claim they're Final Fantasy fans, you ask them, what Final Fantasy did you play aside from Final Fantasy VII? That was the only fucking game they played.
Yep.
Thankfully, I played other Final Fantasy games.
Hell, these people didn't even get Final Fantasy Chronicles, which had Final Fantasies V and Chrono Trigger on it. They didn't even get that game. Just Final Fantasy VII.
Which is kind of a downer.
Yeah, it is a downer because Final Fantasy, like I said, Final Fantasy VII. If it's the first Final Fantasy you ever played, is a good Final Fantasy to get into. But like once you play other Final Fantasies, it's really not that good. it's kind
It's
of
kind of a no contest.
it's kind of inferior. You know, like because the thing
Yeah.
about Final Fantasy is that the games get more refined as time goes by. Like Final Fantasy 7 for a good start is pretty good, but over time, like Final Fantasy 4 is the first Final Fantasy on the SNES, and it's good. It's a lot of really good ideas, but it's not really refined. Final Fantasy 5 is a lot of real gameplay, a lot of really good gameplay ideas, but it's not quite really as refined as it could be. But 6, everything comes together, and you get this really well balanced, well made game. You know, Final Fantasy 7 as a first start, pretty good, but like it's not as good as it could be because I mean it's new hardware. You know, it's they have to tell stories in a new way. It's different. You know, same thing with Final Fantasy. You know, Final Fantasy 8. Interesting gameplay systems, but it's not quite as well put together. But then you get 9, where everything comes together, and then everything falls apart because of
Yeah.
they fired Hironobu
Um.
Sakaguchi, and the people who they got to replace Hironobu Sakaguchi were fucking trash because we haven't gotten a good Final Fantasy in years.
Yeah, 10-2 is the fact that
You have to repeat yourself.
I said 10-2 is the reason that was probably his last his big FU to the Square Enix when he left.
Yeah. That's what I think. I think that was like his, oh, so you're going to fire me because a movie, I'm not really good at making movies. I make video games. Bombed. Well, fuck you then. Final Fantasy X too.
Yeah.
Because that game is terrible. That game is, ooh, that game is bad.
That's putting it lightly.
That game is one big reason to bring back Titus. That's all it is. It's one big let's bring back Titus.
Yeah. A character just has no reason to exist.
Yeah.
And spoiler, all he is just a dream.
Yeah, he's just a fucking dream. And not even a good dream. He's a whiny little bitch. My dad abused me. Shut the fuck up. That's terrible. not that
Yeah.
not that we endorse abusing your children, but I'm sorry. Not that I'm endorsing abusing children, but I get tired of this whiny little bitch. My father was mean. Man, shut the fuck up. That's what you can do. Shut the fuck up. I'm sorry. And here's the thing. Like Titus wasn't even the main character of Final Fantasy X. The main character of Final Fantasy X is Yuna. But
Because they couldn't pull the trigger of having another female heroine. I mean, another heroine female.
Yeah.
Of sorts.
They were afraid that the audience would not resonate with a female main character, which is weird because us Final Fantasy old school Final Fantasy fans, we grew up with Terra as the main character of Final Fantasy VI, and we weren't like, man, I can't play as a female character. Like, oh, this is awesome. Because she was OP as fuck. Like, once she gains the morph ability and she can turn into half Esper, she's ridiculous OP. She's like, this boss is kicking my ass until she morphed into a Esper, half Esper, and just wrecked everyone's shit.
Yeah, I mean, come on. How can you say no to having a summon as a partner or
But
a
then
lead
to be
character?
fair, every single well, I mean, she's not really a summon. She's the espers. As far as she's concerned, she's the espers are just the embodiment of a magical element. So yeah, she's. I mean, she's basically the fucking embodiment of a magical element. I think she acquires her father's part of her father's element. So like Madeline, her father was the embodiment of the he was the Esper of Chaos. So I mean, already pretty fucking powerful.
Esper of Chaos.
Yeah, not to be fucked with, but no, we can't do that. We gotta have Titus, the world's most annoying character. Like if you thought Squall Lionheart and Cloud Strife were annoying bitches, oh, we upped
Actually,
it.
I I put I put Leon versus Titus on that list.
I would say the thing about Cloud is that he's just boring and samey and like his character is that he doesn't
Yeah.
really have character. But Squall is emo to a fault.
Yeah, that's the thing. I may not like Cloud, but he's a lot more enjoyable than Leon.
Well, I wouldn't say he's enjoyable. He's just not annoying. He has no personality. Whereas Squall
Yeah.
is this big, is this emo guy. Oh, he's angsty. He's angsty to the point where it's annoying.
Yeah, that's kind of like how I see. That's kind of like how I see Leon.
Yeah. Cause I mean, but basically, like Cloud Strife was emo, but it wasn't like annoying. Cause he's like, typical. I'm an amnesiac. Why don't I have any memory? Turns out, okay, I'm gonna spoil it for everyone. Cloud is one of the imperfect clones that were created from Genova's DNA. So basically, the most quote unquote perfect clone they had was Sephiroth. But Cloud himself is also one of those, is one of the imperfect clones, which is weird because they should have stopped because Sephiroth is fucking crazy, and Cloud is a whiny little bitch. So, basically,
He may be a
the
maybe a
reason
bitch, but they think he's nothing like
the
Leon.
reason well the thing is the reason he's obsessed with Sephiroth is because they share genes. So not only is there kind of like this subcontextualized gay thing going on between the two of them, but technically they're brothers, so there's incest thrown in with it too. So it's just a really, it's like, this
Thank
is fucked
you
up.
very much.
This is fucked
I
up
need
and
some
weird.
bleach.
Hey, look, this is the character you love. but again,
Actually, I was saying that this is a character I love at least to a point, as in he's enjoyable, but I know that he is flawed as fudge.
yeah, so the reason so basically, and the reason he has this obsession with Sephiroth biologically is because they share the same genes, and the Genova gene cells want to combine back into a perfect being or some shit like that. But the reason that he's obsessed with stopping Sephiroth is because when he came out of his pod, Zack Fair he took some of Zack Fair's memories. So basically, Zack Fair was part of the group of people that Sephiroth turned against and murdered the shit out of. And he's like, gotta stop him. So that's the whole point. Literally, it's a really stupid, it's a really convoluted way to set up this conflict. Now, Sephiroth, however, wants to destroy the entire world. Why? Because he's angry that they basically cloned Genova cells, and so the world must die because they cloned Genova cells. Everybody on the planet must die because this guy has a big fucking mama's boy. That's the plot of Final Fantasy VII. That's stupid as hell. That's not a well-designed RPG plot. I'm sorry. I know some people are gonna get angry. I don't really care. That is stupid.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because even Pokemon has a better plot than that, and both me and you, Red, nail Pokemon at times.
Well, Pokemon. I mean, but only like Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII have really shitty main storylines. I know some people are gonna get mad when they hear that, but they're not good storylines. Like I said, I know some people will get angry, but I don't care. They're bad storylines. You want a good storyline, you got to go with Final Fantasy IX has a pretty good storyline. It's a little convoluted in the middle, but everything comes together. And the twist at the end is so worth it. Because, twists that are earned feel good. Um, Unearned twists aren't cool, but when they're earned, it's worth it.
That I can agree on.
So after talking about how we love certain games and then listening to me bitch and complain about Final Fantasy for for a very long time. With that being said, anything you guys want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
I was going to ask what was the free topic.
Oh, the free topic was Final Fantasy. But we got a little bit of time. Anyone want to bring up a free topic before we wrap things up?
To be honest with you, I got my 2 cents getting built in a sense that I'm actually trying.
Okay.
Because I just feel like, because I'm feeling in a writing mood this week, and it's going to be talking about Runeterra versus Hearthstone.
Okay.
Or how you earn certain things in those games.
So good game design versus bad game design.
More like pick what you want versus booster packs.
Ah, that's a good idea.
Because I feel like Runeterra is gonna be biting the card game market, and while I may be mixed on this subject, since I believe in trading card games, this is kind of close to home to me.
All
And
right.
I'm actually curious of how it turns out.
Well, I mean, I haven't really been into card games for a while because I'm just not.
Well, both of them are free, Runeterra and Hearthstone.
No, not just that. I'm not like I used to be into trading. The only trading card game I'm still kind of into is Star Wars, the trading card game. But
I was gonna say, wasn't that discontinued?
yeah, it was. But I have the cards that I really want, so I'm not really interested in um, giving a shit about it now. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get you.
So,
At least I was trying to. At least I was trying to help you. At least try to look at what's going on.
no, that's good. Bring it up. It might be some cool stuff going on. So
Yeah.
So with that being said, anything you want to pimp out, Kanoshi?
I'm trying to figure out a good streaming schedule outside the mere streams I do for the BS Bust.
Right.
Trying to get my podcast stuff in. Maybe I don't know what days would work. I was thinking about either probably Thursday and Sunday, maybe.
That'll work.
Right?
I mean, Thursday and I'm not available Sundays because typically I work Sundays. But if you want to do if you want to do like uh, Thursdays, I'm down for. Definitely down for. Because I don't work
Actually,
on
I'm thinking
Thursdays.
of
So. Thursday nights, I mean.
actually I'm more or less either going with Thursday and Sunday or Friday. Those are the 2 days
That
I'm
works.
thinking about viewing. Yeah.
I'm down for it.
I just gotta start getting material together.
All right. Well,
So,
once you
so that'll probably be in about a week or so.
Well, man, once you get it started, I don't mind joining the party.
All right. All right. Sounds good.
Yeah. So that's the end of the podcast. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz.
And don't forget our credits like the email, the Twitter, the Discord.
Yeah, to get in touch with the cast via Gmail, you can reach me at Mr. RedFoxBSBuster@gmail.com or at Twitter at Matthew Wesley at Mr. RedFox91. And remember, here at BS Busters, we talk a lot of shit, but we also give a lot of shit, and we also don't take no shit. So with that being said, that's the end of the podcast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe, and
Hype responsibly, ladies and gentlemen.
that's right. Good night, peace, and enjoy.